South Korea is traditionally a homogenous society, but a declining birth rate and a shortage of women here has led to a dramatic increase in the number of South Korean men choosing to marry foreign brides. While some of these unions do succeed, it has led to an escalation in the number of sex trafficking, domestic violence and suicide cases. I'm Kathy Hearn. On this edition of 101 East, we take a look at South Korea's booming industry in mail-order brides.
Korean women have no longer wanted to do this housework, elderly care work, child care work that they used to do.
When people get married in Korea, there are many restrictions on the women. We're expected to do all the housework and take care of the mother-in-law.
And that's how Korean men, through agencies, brokers, look for brides.
The 45-year-old businessman Sang-woo Park is a man on a mission. Park is looking for a wife. But in his hometown of Daegu, a few hours' drive south of Seoul, there's a shortage of available women.
Korean women are nice, but their expectations are so high, and they are too focused on a man's occupation and social status. They also have a tendency to ignore their husbands and be headstrong.
Bong Soo-jang is also a client at the #1 marriage agency. He's a web designer who runs his own business from home.
When I go on dates with Korean women, they want to know if I have a stable income, rather than looking at what kind of person I am. These things put me off.
Another contributing factor is Korean television dramas. The hero is always depicted as perfect, so our women want someone close to that ideal image. To put it positively, I could say our women have developed high standards, but to put it negatively, I'd say they're simply too fussy.
They are also simply too few. There's a significant gender gap in Korea due to a traditional preference for sons. And the gap has widened further, with falling fertility rates and more women choosing to focus on their careers instead of saying I do to marriage.
They want autonomy, they want independence. So Korean men are increasingly looking into poorer countries in Southeast Asia where they stereotype women as more docile or subservient.
At first, I was quite skeptical because I heard and read a lot of negative things about these multicultural marriages. But slowly I changed my mind after seeing many happy mixed couples.
Government statistics show international marriages in Korea have increased dramatically, especially in rural areas, where 1 in 3 men now has a foreign bride. It's a lucrative industry for marriage brokers like Haewon Choi, who start the process by showing clients photos of available women. All of them have undergone medical tests to prove they are mentally and physically healthy. The broker then arranges a short overseas tour for the men to meet a selection of prospective brides.
Once the two people come to an agreement, the bride's medical checkup is done one more time just to make sure. Then a simple wedding ceremony is held. After the ceremony, the groom comes back to Korea, and it's our time to get busy because we need to prepare the immigration paperwork.
Korean men pay around $10,000 to meet young women from poorer countries, including Uzbekistan, Vietnam and the Philippines.
When I handle a case, I treat my client like my own family, or even as if I'm getting married myself. I see it through each and every step of the process to make sure the pair is suitable for each other.
It was his older brother's arranged marriage to a Vietnamese woman that inspired Choi to open his own matchmaking agency. Choi's brother, Hai Sung, is a factory forklift driver. He said it was only after his 43rd birthday that he decided to look for a wife. He met 24-year-old Nguyen Thi Lon through an international marriage broker agency.
처음에는 무관심, 나이 20대, 30대까지.
At first it was carelessness. In my 20s and 30s it never occurred to me to look for a wife.
보니까 그때는 나이가 많더라고.
When I realized it was about time to get married, I was already a bit old. I went for a few blind dates, but it wasn't really working.
My brother wasn't good at dating women. He should have been more proactive. He doesn't know how to appeal to women and he doesn't even try to please them. Not surprisingly, he went way past his marrying age. It was the only logical choice for him to go for an international marriage.
On the first day, I was quite reluctant to choose my present wife because she was too young. But after speaking to her, I thought she was okay.
Yes, at first we were strangers, but we became good together, and the relationship has grown stronger. It's been 3 years since I became a mother, and I have matured a lot.
Despite their nearly 20-year age gap and cultural differences, the couple appear happy and say their daughter Soo Bin has brought them even closer together.
It wasn't love at first sight, but as I was talking to her with the interpreter's help, I suddenly had a feeling that she was the right one.
Hai Song says his life has changed for the better, but it wasn't so easy for his young wife, who had to learn a new culture and a new language.
It was difficult when I first came here. I didn't speak any Korean, and it was so different from Vietnam, so it was very hard for me.
Professor Jacqueline Aquino Siapno has written many papers on mixed marriages. She says not all cross-border unions are as successful as the Choi family, and she believes there's an element of racism and xenophobia in Korea towards Southeast Asian countries.
There's very little understanding of Southeast Asia in Korea. My students often tell me that they're shocked to find out that the Philippines and Vietnam and Indonesia is so close to them, because basically their orientation is towards the United States and Japan.
The government says it's working on improving relations between new immigrants and Korean society.
Multicultural families don't live on their own, so they need to adapt to the Korean community so that Korean families accept them as neighbors. This takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, as many people are skeptical of these ideas.
But Professor Siapno believes the communication is one-sided.
There is very little in the system that is set up to make them succeed, to make these so-called multicultural marriages succeed. Because their understanding of multiculturalism too, I think, is very superficial. It's about the Southeast Asian woman assimilating. It's hardly about the Korean husband learning about Vietnamese history. It's always one way.
It's a challenge for a society where foreigners were traditionally seen as invaders and treated with suspicion. But today, over 140,000 women have settled in Korea as foreign brides. Many come from Southeast Asia, particularly Vietnam. "19-year-old Nguyen Thi Ha lives in a small village in Haiphong, 3 hours south of Hanoi. She met her Korean husband through a neighbor who works as a matchmaker.
In the place where I live, there are 6 or 7 foreign brides from my street, and one next door to me. I also have one classmate who married a Korean. I think it's become quite a popular thing to do.
Nguyen Thi Ha wanted to go to university, but her parents said it was not for girls and she should find a job.
I have a lot of dreams. I dream about going to university and traveling overseas. I didn't expect to marry a Korean man. We met each other through the matchmaker. She lives near my house. I asked him a lot of questions through the interpreter. I can't be sure if he told the truth, but I have a good feeling about him, and I trust him.
Within 2 days of meeting 36-year-old Joe Boiling Ho, the couple were married. They went on honeymoon with 2 other mixed couples also arranged by the matchmaker. And they shared a bilingual dictionary in order to communicate.
After the wedding, he went back to Korea and registered with one of the text message translation companies so we can text each other in our languages, and that makes it easier for us.
Nguyen Tiha is waiting for her immigration papers before she can join her husband in Korea. She's looking forward to her new life, but she might not be welcomed by everyone. Despite the government's support for multiculturalism, many still disagree with it.
It is an inadequate government policy and there are many loopholes. Multiculturalism has no place in Korea and it does not fit Koreans.
They've no business to approve or disapprove of our marriage. It's my personal life, whether it's a multicultural home or not. As long as we live without breaking the law, who are they to approve or disapprove of our life?
Bachelors Sang Wong Park and Bong Soo-jang say South Korea is changing.
It is true in our society, Vietnamese brides were looked down on, but I think it has improved a lot. I've nothing to feel embarrassed about. It's my right to choose to marry a Vietnamese woman. I'm not affected by what people say. On the contrary, my friends and relatives will be happy for me to live with someone so young and pretty. They will even be jealous of me.
Over a traditional South Korean meal, the prospective husbands were more forthcoming about their difficulties in meeting Korean women. Bong says there's even a name for this phenomenon, the $4,000 condition.
Before the woman chooses a man, they specify the man must earn at least $4,000 a month. Here in Daegu City, there are not many of us who make that much money. Anyone our age who has been working in a design office for 10 years makes about $2,000. But we work hard and do our best. I think Korean women should look at the person first, but they don't, which makes it difficult for us.
And having children is another priority.
If I were to marry a Korean woman, I would have to choose someone in their 40s, so this will pose a problem in terms of children and health. So my yearning for children compels me to consider a young and healthy bride. That's the reason why I prefer young Vietnamese or Southeast Asian brides rather than a Korean bride.
It's an attitude the Korean government is actively encouraging in order to combat South Korea's lowest ever birth rate and an aging population. But the policy is drawing criticism.
A lot of people question where's the love there or the romance, because if you read a lot of the research on this or interview the women, you find that they're serving the husband, serving the in-laws, and are expected to take care of the mother-in-law, and then they also have to do reproductive labor besides the household labor and the farm labor and all the childcare.
This uneven alliance can lead to abuse. Last year, a Vietnamese woman was stabbed to death by her mentally ill Korean husband just 8 days after they wed. And in May this year, a 23-year-old Vietnamese woman died after being stabbed 53 times by her husband. NGOs blame matchmaking agencies for not doing enough background checks on their clients.
Some Korean men think of their foreign bride as a possession. They tend to humiliate them and ignore their human dignity, which leads to verbal and physical abuse.
Ok Boon Woo runs a shelter for migrant women inside a church in downtown Daegu. Open 24 hours a day, it's the first refuge for foreign brides fleeing violent husbands. A survey in 2008 from the Korea Institute of Health and Society showed almost 30% of foreign brides had experienced either verbal or physical abuse from their husbands. Zhang Van Thuy experienced both. She says her alcoholic husband used to beat and rape her. After she fell pregnant with her second child, she was so afraid she would lose the baby that she fled to the shelter, leaving her firstborn behind.
If I have to live with my husband, I don't know what will happen with my life. It may be in danger. He drinks all the time, so sometimes he does things and is out of control, and I feel unsafe.
The increase in abuse of foreign wives in Korea has invoked international criticism over human rights abuses and links with sex traffickers.
So I feel as long as they think of them as a sex toy and not as a wife, this problem will never end. This is a serious problem that the country needs to think about.
South Korea is trying to reform the international matchmaking industry and has set up centres around the country to help foreign brides in trouble. The women are given accommodation while the shelter helps them look for work and apply for Korean citizenship. But it's a long process.
My life isn't happy. That's why I can't help my family. My mom is sick all the time, and I can't do anything to help her. And I miss my family so much. I feel so sad that I can't do anything to help them. Sometimes I want to talk with my mom and share my problems, but I'm afraid that her worrying will make her more ill, so I don't tell her.
But instead of returning home after the end of their marriages, many foreign women choose to stay in Korea and raise their children as Koreans.
Now that I've started working and have money to buy milk and nappies for the children, life is better than in Vietnam. Some people are lucky and get to have a good husband. Sometimes without a husband, life can be sad, but our children still bring us happiness.
In Vietnam, sometimes life is okay, but often it's not. If my mom needs to go to the hospital, then who will help her financially? That's why I came here to marry a Korean man. I thought I could earn money to support my children and my family back home.
If you look at the breakdown of how much economic and also social remittances they send, it's really amazing. They end up sending enough money to build homes for their families in Vietnam, also paying for health care for their aging parents. They're basically doing the work that the state is supposed to do, not only in Korea, but in their home countries.
I want to stay here because I have to raise my child. She is a Korean, even though I am an immigrant. I want to raise my daughter here because even without a father, she can live happily with me.
For Nguyen Thi Ha, the idea of moving to a new country is a dream come true, but she does worry that her marriage might not work out.
I think about that a lot. I don't know what I can do to prevent this, but I trust that my husband will not lie to me. But I do have some doubt in my heart. In life, what you imagine and what actually happens is often not the same thing. But I've seen a lot of couples who do have a good life.
And although Nguyen Thi Ha doesn't know what her married life will be like, she is determined to make the best of it.
From our talks together, we realize we have similar ideas. Both of us want lots of children, but he wants girls, and I like boys. My husband sells fish, but he wants me to take his job so he can move to an office job, so we can provide a better life for our children. He also says he will not force me to stay with my mother-in-law, but I'm not sure if I want to sell fish.
As more foreign women move to Korea, their support network grows, giving them a better understanding of their legal rights.
In Korea, once you start living with a Korean husband, you become eligible for permanent resident status after 2 years. Some women, once they have this legal protection, will then no longer tolerate abuse by their husbands, and they will fight back like any other Korean woman would do. They will even ask for divorce if they decide their husband will not change. The failure of more international marriages is not unusual. It's part of the painful process that allows women to regain their rights.
But some analysts say unsuccessful mixed marriages could damage relations between Vietnam and South Korea.
In March this year, the Korean government passed a new bill that gives better support and protection to multicultural families. But not everyone agrees with this new legislation.
60-year-old widower Cho Dong-Hwang says it's Korean men who can end up as victims.
30% of international marriages end up in divorce. Some women run away to live with their lovers, and even when you catch them and take them to the immigration office, the officers are under pressure from human rights organizations. There are more than 300 human rights groups protecting foreign brides, but there are none supporting Korean men's human rights.
Cho Dong-Hwang says some foreign women use marriage as a way to get Korean citizenship and will lie and cheat to get what they want. He set up a website to record the stories of unions that didn't end happily ever after.
Korea is a very conservative country. For a man to be subjected to this kind of scam is so humiliating. There are people who are reluctant to come out openly, and even if they go to a journalist to report the incident, the journalist will be edited due to the fear they will be blacklisted by the government. That's one of the reasons why it's not well known.
The government confirms some foreign brides are using marriage to gain citizenship, and in response they have tightened the laws on marriage brokers.
Only officially registered companies are allowed to broker marriages. We also have cooperative agreements drawn up with the Philippine and Vietnamese embassies to monitor and control legitimate processes.
Nowadays, you need to complete training that's organised by the government, and you need a proper office, and you need to take out compulsory insurance. If a client suffers financial loss due to our negligence, then they can be paid by insurance companies up to $50,000 US.
To help foreign brides assimilate in Korea, the government has set up support centres. Nguyen Tilon is attending a Korean music class at the Dongcheong Community Welfare Center. It's a chance for her to improve her language skills and spend time with other foreign brides. Each bride has a Korean chaperone to help with assimilation.
I like coming to these classes because I enjoy singing so much.
The centres also try to help children from mixed marriages so they don't face discrimination.
I worry a fair bit about that possibility. I am afraid my child will be left out, but I do feel that our country is changing.
But the statistics show children of mixed marriages are struggling at school, with close to 25% dropping out. It's something the government is trying to address.
In the country, we have 200 support centers for multicultural families. Teachers visit their homes and teach Korean language skills to mothers and children. They also teach mothers how to raise their children in Korean society and how to be a good parent.
While the government looks at the big picture, these prospective grooms are excited about their impending marriages. Park has high hopes that he will soon meet his future wife.
I am optimistic that by the third day I will have met someone I like. There will be many to choose from, and I'm sure most of them will look attractive to me. Up till now, I've only been used to seeing Korean ladies in their 40s, so this could be a breath of fresh air. Of course, I won't only go for looks, I will also look at their personality.
Bong Su's first trip was successful, and he'll soon return to Vietnam to collect his new bride. Although they've only known each other a few days, he is confident their union will last.
I was told that it takes just 3 seconds for a person to decide whether one likes that person or not. And my first impression was so nice. I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I almost cried during our wedding, although I'm normally such a macho man. You might say I am exaggerating, but I felt a lot of emotion for my bride.
Whatever the risks and uncertainties, growing numbers of Korean men are choosing to marry foreign brides in the hopes of living happily ever after, a choice that is permanently changing the face of Korean society.